Hello. So, second episode or second lesson in the happiness course. Today we're talking about reality. I'm going to give myself a quick intro. I might also explain why am I wearing a hat because it's winter in my house. It's actually better weather outside half the time. But anyway, in Jordan we don't have central heating, but it's sometimes like that behind me. Right. So my quick intro is I do happiness classes based on Islamic principles, uh, mainly for non-Muslims because they seem to understand more. A lot of trying. Oh gosh, I am using a different internet connection today, which can be really good and then suddenly cut off. So that's a bit annoying. So I might try a different thing another time. But anyway, Claire, your intro is you're a secular Quranist. Maybe you want to explain what that is for people who haven't heard for the 100th time, but hopefully they have.
Secular Quranism is Sharia for non-Muslims because I think that would give them better government, even though they don't know it yet, and therefore make them happier. And of course, I would be very happy to have my solution to their social and political problems adopted, which is why I'm doing this.
Cool. Yeah. So Sharia, for people who don't know what that is, I'm a teacher, so I'm always explaining all the little basic things that I say basic. I don't think most Westerners understand what Sharia is. Most Westerners think Sharia means chopping people's hands off only. Actually, Sharia means Islamic teachings or guidance or law, you can call it, but it's not law because no law in Islam is imposable unless in a democratic system, people go to the Quran and go, I like that and that and that. We're going to copy that. In fact, isn't that copied in American Constitution? Who was it that had a Quran? One of the famous founding
It
fathers,
was
as they call them,
it
and
was Thomas
he
Jefferson.
instituted there should be no force in religion. Go on.
It was Thomas Jefferson who um, ordered a copy in 1765 when he was a law student, and he definitely read it because American history is that he read the Quran before going to negotiate with the Barbary pirates who were causing a problem to American shipping.
Ah,
And
I
since he
see.
trained
Yeah,
as a
and was
lawyer, he understood
cool.
how
And
important it is to see the
maybe
world through the lens of your opponent.
sure, yeah. And the idea of there's isn't what was it like one of the amendment I don't know much about the American Constitution, but it talks about not forcing religion on people. That's a
That's the First
relatively new
Amendment.
idea. The First Amendment. It's a relatively new idea. It's not in the Bible, but it is in the Quran, which says there should be no compulsion in matter of religion. So uh, maybe Thomas Jefferson was a secular Quranist. Who knows? What do you think?
What a
Yeah,
lovely idea.
yeah. I mean, you don't have to take all the credit yourself. You just it doesn't have to be your idea. But anyway,
No, but I've been saying that he did read it and he must have got the idea. And they said, no,
yeah.
no, it's such a
And he's
basic idea.
secular,
He would have done it
essentially.
without, the
Maybe
Quran.
was he? Did he consider himself a Christian?
A Unitarian Christian, he really hated the Trinity. It just upset him the
So
way
that you could
it
call him
upsets me.
secular in a way.
Well, I mean, secular just
Hmm. So
means
you could call
if
him
you
secular. Go on.
secular means just people trusting their ruling classes to make the laws for them. That's what it
Okay.
means.
Cool. Okay. So now I'm gonna whiz through. We've got 5 whole viewers. That's amazing. What's happening? Why are people watching? So 5 viewers. We better get going with the main subject, which is what is the nature of reality, so that we can be happy. So as I said, these are happiness classes, and I'd start with the very basics. The first lesson was finding direction. How do you find direction? What's the logical approach and all that kind of stuff? If you're going on a journey, and this course is a journey, you got to start with that. Second thing is really understanding the reality of our world. Most people don't. Most people think the reality of our world is just the physical. Where is the door? So you don't physically bump into the door. but that's not enough to make you happy. Lots of people are bumping into all sorts of invisible things, like what is the nature of relationships, what is the nature of the environment, and if you don't understand this invisible reality, that's equally harmful to you if you don't understand. Does that kind of make sense? Am I sounding a bit too metaphorical? Does that make
You
sense what I'm
sounds
talking
like you're
about?
reading from something, which you are probably.
No, I'm not. Don't try it. I'm not. I'm trying not to read it. I know Claire makes fun of me for reading stuff. Okay. There's a reality of our world, and it's not limited to the physical reality. It's like the psychological reality is what
Our
I'm talking about, Claire.
spiritual
What do you think about that?
needs, our spiritual needs
Yes,
are also
you can call
important.
it spiritual, but people go a bit, or people become a bit illogical when I use the word spiritual. They think anything is spiritual. So I try to sometimes avoid that word, even though I'm talking about spiritual things.
Well,
So yeah,
I define it in a
psychological
particular
feels more
way.
scientific. Oh,
Yeah, I
okay,
mean,
sure.
I
But you
define
get
the
it, right?
spirit.
The things,
Yeah.
realities of our world. Go on.
So,
Go
so,
on,
so
you say it. Go on. Go
basically,
on.
I define spirituality as the desire for justice. So I don't, just, I acknowledge the spiritual needs even of atheists because they, to be happy, need to feel that the world is fair and that they have received justice. And if
Yes.
you deprive them of justice, they will, well, stalk you and get angry and, they do all kinds of things because they are unhappy. I don't know
So
if you've
funny.
ever
When Claire talks,
heard.
it's so funny. They might stalk you. They might.
Well, yes,
But I think
say,
that is that a thing that ladies experience. I think maybe it's
well,
just not something I
men
don't get many
experience it too.
stalkers.
I was talking to Stephen about it, and asked YouTubers, maybe you experience that, um, you know, after insults, there are threats, and they become more organized because they set up sock puppets, the fake
Right.
accounts in their own name with different names to, you know, um, stalk you and agree with each other that you are
Oh,
wrong and
oh,
stalk
stalk you
you.
digitally, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Anyway,
you have to
okay,
be
let's
pretty
get on to it.
unhappy.
Sorry, viewers.
They have to be pretty unhappy
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
do this sort of thing. And we're trying. You were talking about psychology, and I guess as a Muslim, I was
Mm.
waiting for you to say that Islam satisfies your spiritual and material needs. And that's why
Yes,
you
that's
promote
very true.
happiness
Yes,
classes based on the Quran.
yes, that's
But
very
what we
true. I'm
need to
glad
do
you
is
say that. Yeah. Go on. I
convince
keep
these
interrupting.
Islamophobes that this could actually work for them. And I think we can do this by understanding what the hell is wrong with them and their psychological problems and why they get
What the hell
so
is wrong with
unhappy.
them is they're missing loads of stuff in their life that I want to give them, basically. So let's give a bit of that. Okay, so the first thing I try to quote from the Quran mostly, and then sometimes sayings of Prophet Muhammad. Number one, why? So I'm going to break down the problem of being happy. And number one, the first question is, why is being happy so hard? Because it seemed to be like this impossible thing for people in the West. Would you agree that there's a sense of like it's a difficult problem to solve, which is a shame?
Well, they want so many things and they're encouraged to want so many things. They, in their culture of entitlement, are given the sense of being entitled to, all the things that other people have that maybe they don't deserve or can't get. And then if they can't
Yeah,
get it,
cool.
they feel aggrieved.
Excellent.
And
I
what
like that
they
you're
want
saying
is
that because
attention.
I'm gonna refer to. Oh, well, everybody wants attention. These people Westerners are very lonely. They need attention. They need a wife. They need a family. They're missing that, and they're just taking it out on the internet when they don't get that. So I appreciate that they need attention. So I like that the fact that you said, Uncle Simon, nice to see you there. It's not. Anyway, so Mr. Universal Truth is Uncle Simon from Speaker's Corner. But anyway, I like that you said that they have these unlimited or kind of needs. Okay, and those needs are not fulfilling clearly, so that's why they're so unhappy. And this verse of the Quran talks about that in a really poetic way. I always quote this about a million times, so you might have heard this one. Okay, I'll read it. And as to those who disbelieve, and the word disbelieve in the Quran is described as somebody who actively hides from the light of God, okay, which is the only true source of happiness. So they're hiding from the true source of happiness. And so the result is, the Quran carries on, their deeds are like a mirage in the desert. Their work, whatever they do, is like a mirage in the desert. So they're chasing an illusion. Okay, and it's a special kind of illusion, the mirage, because as the Quran, I'll read it and then explain. The thirsty one thinks it to be water until when he comes up to it, he finds it to be nothing. And there's a bit more to this verse of Quran, but I think I'll leave it there. Basically, a mirage, or what this verse of the Quran is kind of alluding to, is that a mirage is an illusion where you chase something, and then when you arrive at it, you realize it to be nothing. That's what a mirage is. It's a special kind of illusion. Does that make sense? I'm going to keep pausing just to make sure people are following,
Yes.
and you are my test subject. Thank you. So that's the problem. So it looks like Westerners are trying very hard to be happy because they're trying to get this and that, and they keep trying all these different things, but they're
Their
trying
bucket
all the
list.
wrong things. Go on, they're what?
Their bucket list. Have you heard that expression?
Yeah,
Their
the bucket list. Bucket list might be okay. Yeah, I mean, the bucket list for people who don't know is a list of things before you kick the bucket or die. I don't think they're bad. I don't think people have even necessarily thought through their buck. They don't really think clearly about what they really want. They just want what other people want. This is the way we overestimate or underestimate how stupid people are in general, and how stupid we are. And we have to we should constantly analyze, why are we doing this? Why am I wearing a ribbon around my neck, which is called a tie, as if I think that's a smart thing to do? Oh, just because somebody else did. We don't realize how easily we fall for other people's stupidity. Do you agree? We've just follow other people. We don't even have a bucket list. We just have a list of things that everybody else is doing, and we copy that blindly. But if we
We want
thought
to fit
carefully
in.
through it, we want to fit in. That is very important. So psychologically, it is known, and I don't reference everything, but you can check this up yourself, viewers, that most people prefer to be in physical pain than stand out, because standing out psychologically is more painful. So it's good to know that about yourself. Okay, as a human being, we love to fit in, and there's a usefulness in fitting in, because generally things are tried and tested in some way, and there's some usefulness in copying other people, because if you haven't thought about everything yourself, it's not a good idea to go off in a direction that you haven't thought through, so just copy everybody else. But you should always check your natural urges. You don't go with all your natural urges, don't just take as a human being, you don't just take anything you want. You don't just steal stuff. That's one of your natural urges as well. So natural urges are good to some extent, but not always. You kind of have to balance them. Anyway, so there's a claim I've just made there, that the only thing that really makes you happy is God. And people might say, well, I need food, I need sex, and what else could be on the list, Claire? I don't know. What else?
Money,
Food is pretty basic.
attention,
Money,
validation,
attention.
people to agree with me.
Sure,
and
let's
support
say
me.
let's go through some of them. Let's go through that nice list we just got there. So food. Okay, food.
Maslow's
Yes, you
hierarchy
need
of
food, but
needs.
food by itself doesn't make you happy. Sure, that's great. Yeah, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the kind of the basic things, and then the more deeper things are at the top, more meaningful things are at the top. So Viktor Frankl explains that really the heart of happiness is finding meaning in your life. It sounds one of these really invisible things that you are essential to. So if you just have food, you're not going to be happy. There are lots of rich, miserable, depressed people in the West, and you're probably one of them if you're in the West, right? So your evidence of that food is not enough. But if you didn't have any food, yeah, you'd probably be miserable because you're pretty much dead, right? But that's not the secret of happiness. Okay, and then there's sex, another kind of consumption thing, whatever. Lots of desperately miserable people having lots of sex. There's a famous example of Russell Brand. Apparently, he was twice in England the person who has the most sexual partners in a year or something, and he described his experiences as if it was eating ash. What's your opinion on the first two things I've just said before we get onto your list?
Can you say your first two? Sorry. What was your first two? I know you were talking about Russell Brand and sex turns to ash in your mouth, but what was that before you said? I'm afraid I've forgotten. Oh, he dropped out. So I'm afraid I'm saying we are not happy because our wish list has not been ticked off by ourselves or our fairy godmothers. We think we are entitled to the things that we wish for, such as happiness. But if we think a little bit more, we should have a little think about whether we are entitled to even the little things we ask for. We think we need attention, we deserve love, or whatever. It's like, well, what do you bring to the table? It's this idea of, do I deserve it? And even if I do, but I don't get it, is there some grand plan in being deprived, perhaps only temporarily, of the thing that we want? Maybe we are supposed to work a little bit harder. Maybe we are going about it the wrong way. Or maybe we should just accept that we're not meant to, for example, masquerade as a member of the opposite sex. Maybe it's a good thing that we give up, perhaps, the idea of becoming a member of the opposite sex. Maybe we should be grateful for the things that we already have, and we should count our blessings before they all disappear. So if we count them, we would have listed them. If we have a numbered list of our blessings, we keep them. Really, by counting them, we identify them and list them. So,
Yeah, sorry about that rubbish connection. I've actually got a second flat. It's quite easy.
Khaled seems to cut out again, but he's sort of there, though I can't see him properly. To continue,
Hello. Oh my God, it's so
again,
terrible. I'm really sorry about this. Can you hear me, Claire?
yes.
Is Claire still there?
Yes, yes, yes. I'm
Okay,
saying
I'm
now he
back.
can't hear me.
I'm
Now he
back.
can't hear me.
Oh God,
Khaled,
apparently I'm
you
not
can't hear
back.
me.
It's very slow.
I can be heard, but he apparently can't hear me. So I'll carry on talking about happiness. Say to Khaled that I'm talking, but you can't hear me. So maybe you'll have to go out and come back in again. So obviously we are made unhappy by not getting the things we want or are not able to. Well, obviously, I mean, happiness is getting what we want, and unhappiness is being deprived of what we think we deserve. So there's always an element of justice in it. It's like, but well, I deserve or everyone deserves, X, and I haven't got it. I've been left out, and it's not fair.
Wow. Let's see what happens. I know, what a disaster. It's
Can you
true.
hear me?
Yes, I
Can
can
you hear
hear.
me? Okay.
Yes, there is hope.
What?
So what happened, if people want to know about technical boring stuff, basically Orange, I've got two internet service providers here actually, but anyway, they decided to improve things and it's got worse. So I do have a place in the city. I think places in the village are not taken seriously, so that's why I've got two routers here. But anyway, so it keeps dying every few seconds. I don't want to disrespect you, Claire. So if it keeps dying like this, we'll end it shortly. But anyway, what were you saying, Claire? I know you messaged me that you were actually talking, filling in the gaps or filling in the time when I wasn't here.
I was just launching into a little lecture about
Oh,
happiness, why
tirade.
we are unhappy. We have a wish list or bucket list of things that we think we want or deserve and are unhappy when we don't get it. And I'm saying the reasons for us not getting it is because maybe we are not going about it in the right way, or the thing that we want, is probably better withheld from us.
Yes, that is very true. Sometimes we want ice cream for breakfast, dinner, and lunch, and it's a really bad idea. And that's just a metaphor. We want a lot of things that aren't good for us. That's one thing. Yeah, we do get a lot of the things we do want and end up being more miserable because of it, because we don't understand that it's not the source of happiness, or it's not a source of happiness by itself. Like eating is fine, but it's not the source of happiness. Eating tons of food is going to just make you sick and obese, and I think it's one of
Every
the
time we look at an obese person, we should look at, what they should be and the excess that is
yeah,
bulging out
yeah. I
because of
thought you,
gluttony.
yeah, I thought you were going to be more charitable for a second. I was going to say something like you should feel pity when you see them because they obviously don't understand the source of their happiness. Okay, cool. So, that said, okay, I want to say very quickly, how can we say that God is the source of happiness? Very briefly, I would say maybe I'll just say one thing, as I'm trying to keep it short before the internet dies or something. It's very interesting that more powerful than any antidepressant is just simply standing in nature. Okay, what is the nature of nature? Why is it so powerful? Why does it give us this peace? It's there's an invisible force, and I would say it's one of the many signs that show us that we have a connection with nature and therefore a connection with God, because God is the artist that created nature. How do you feel about that? There are many other ways I could.
We feel peace when we are in beautiful natural surroundings.
Claire, can you hear me? Sorry, it died and then came back. I'm gonna definitely finish this at 1:30. This is way too annoyingly rubbish. Okay. But Claire, can you hear me?
Can
What did
you
you
hear
did you
me?
understand
Yes,
my did you hear the thing I said about nature
yes, I was
being a
beginning
reflection
to
of God, and that's a
respond.
sign that we have an attraction to God, and that God is the only source of happiness, really? I
Yes,
think
I
I can
was
hear you now.
beginning to. We keep talking over each other for some reason, in particular today. So I
I
was.
can hear you.
You can. Okay, I think there's a delay, which is, and that explains why we keep talking over each other. Um, we feel at peace in beautiful natural surroundings because maybe our wants, our desires are suddenly forgotten, and we forget that we want this thing or this. Validation or recognition, that the beauty of nature makes us forget temporarily all the things that we want. It is able to distract us from the holes in our spirit, I suppose. Yes, can you hear me, Khaled? No sound. No
Yeah.
sound.
Oh no. I mean, I can hear you, but I turned my camera off and I tried to stop talking because of the delay and all that kind of stuff. Yes, we are distracted by our true wants. And in the Quran, there's a really interesting thing about the definition of one of the definitions of success is to be freed by from covetousness. That is the need to keep having things that other people have. Okay, so we have this thing that I need to collect stuff, and that makes you like a mad addict and not able to think about what you really want. So, yeah, how do you feel about that? Like, we're blinded by our addictions to everything, so we don't even think clearly about what really makes us happy, like the subtle things, like having a nice, meaningful conversation, a heart to heart, all that kind of stuff.
Or having time to ourselves to stand and stare. The leisure, these abstract nouns can give, are actually the more important constituents of happiness.
Yes.
Justice, um, yes, beauty.
You can only come up with justice, couldn't you? You like you're a bit heavy on the punishments, maybe sometimes I feel.
Well, I just want people to understand that, justice isn't achieved without somebody objecting to it, without somebody saying, oh, but it's not fair. And the only way you can assert your supremacy is to say, but God agrees with me. To shut them up.
Yeah, people need that as well, it's true. Okay,
and
now
maybe they will shut up because they can't argue with God. If they, even if they don't believe in God, it's like, well, they have to, acknowledge the fact that there are all these, Muslims who believe in, that the Quran is a revealed word of God, and maybe they're not going to argue with that for that much longer. And also,
yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean that's one of the reasons why people are making this point, and I guess it can't just be sunshine and unicorns and rainbows, because that's well, A, it doesn't work, B, they don't get the right idea, and C, it's not adult. People need to understand that we can't experience good without knowing what evil is.
Yeah. Okay, so there are different sort of, what was it? Carrot and
Stick.
I can't remember. Stick. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So carrot and stick. You like stick a lot. I shouldn't be so mean.
Well, I mean, I leave others to go on about the carrot because nobody ever goes on about the stick.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna but you mentioned like maybe when as Muslims are already becoming a majority, actually, then people will follow like sheep, and actually that's our nature. We follow, all of us follow largely in many ways, right? But I'm trying to catch the people right now before, like lemmings, everybody else is jumping off a social cliff or psychological cliff and not getting married and not having any sort of making themselves miserable. I'm trying to save people before that later stage when eventually there's a Muslim majority everywhere, right? Which is statistically probably going to happen eventually in 1 or 2 generations, let's say, because Muslims are having all the kids and all that kind of stuff. But before that, here's an idea how to overcome this addiction to things that are blinding us. Okay, there's a beautiful, one of my favorite sayings of Prophet Muhammad, to flip your mindset away from materialism. Okay, here we go. It says, be in this world as if you are a stranger or a traveler. The example of this world and myself, says Prophet Muhammad, is that of a rider who seeks shade under a tree, then he moves and leaves it behind. So in short, what I'm trying to say is treat your stay on planet Earth as like a holiday. Okay. When you're on holiday, you don't go around collecting things and putting things in your backpack. It's just annoying. What you do is you just appreciate where you are right now. And you don't try to get too comfortable either. In fact, the way I like to explain it is like, imagine there's 2 people on the beach, one without shoes, wearing scruffy shorts, or a man with polished shoes with a suit on the beach? Who would you rather be, Claire? I mean, you don't have to be a man. You can be a woman with a suit.
Well, the one enjoying himself and behaving appropriately according,
Yeah, but
and
it's
being
relaxed. You don't need to have stuff around you. You don't need to have a stuffy suit around you to be happy. Do you know what I mean? You enjoy the experience and don't be too attached to the things, I would say. And does that kind of make sense? Just that little idea.
sure.
Cool.
Yeah, we want to be the person enjoying himself or herself.
Cool. And we're not necessarily enjoying ourselves by fitting in and getting the stuff that we don't need, to impress other people that you don't like, as the phrase goes. I think that's is that a common phrase? Like buying stuff you don't need, working hard to buy stuff you don't need to impress people you don't like. Is that a common one? Yeah. Okay. So, and also this idea of thinking you're here only temporarily, that's a very effective way of being happy, because people kind of keep deferring happiness till 10 years in the future. One day I will be happy, sort of thing. And they don't really think about how to be happy now. Okay, what should you do now? Don't think you're going to live forever is the way Prophet Muhammad is teaching. There is another saying that says something along the lines of, if you wake up in the morning, do not expect to be alive till the evening. It sounds miserable. And if you go to sleep at night, don't expect you to wake up in the morning. It sounds miserable, but it's a very effective way of not being depressed. Part of being depressed is thinking it's going to be the same old every day, like there's no hope in the future or something. So that kind of temporary nature of the holiday, for example. So I like the holiday metaphor. It's not even a metaphor. You should think your life as a holiday. So if you think,
you think of this life as a game to score brownie points in order to get to the better place, rather than to end up in the worst place. Maybe that will clear our minds a bit more. Oh, Khaled's gone again. But yeah, I'm just saying, people love these video games, and well, they can turn this. I mean, there's actually a board game called The Game of Life, and it's all about you go around the board, and you get extra points for a university education and a different life route, but you can still get there before the person who was a graduate. So I think if we think of this life as a game to score points, then there you go. You kind of worked it out, and then and you're more likely to do the right thing, such as marry and have children and try and parent them properly according to the laws of God. And then your civilization will flourish. And we have already seen the problem of people not doing this. So Bubblegum Gun actually started me on this subject because, he said that happiness is not to be subject to scarcity, which is obviously we don't want to be poor, and fulfillment of one's dreams to get what we want, but it's all temporary. People sucking up happiness by dulling up their knowledge, handicapping what they know to clear their minds, have a special place in hell. I think people who waste their lives and do the wrong thing will Nietzsche had this idea of eternal recurrence, which is to force people to just keep living their lives again and again and again and again. And that would be their idea of hell. I think the axe is about to fall on this stream, but I can keep talking until it is abruptly ended by Khalid, who has given up on the stream. So I'll keep talking until, well, I don't know when the axe is going to fall. He's just going to he might end it very soon. But I'll deal with Bubblegum Gun's point about who deserves hell. Obviously, the people who know the rules and break them deserve hell. Um, but obviously, we often, well, I'll certainly admit to breaking my own rules and suffering as a consequence. So I think the idea of repentance should be a kind of, in video games, you get all, you find this thing and then you're double protected, or, you get coins or something. And so what you do then is, sorry, I'm being distracted. Yes, now Khalid is saying I should keep talking because he's going to try and come back on the phone. So maybe we will be happier if we think this life is a game, and the object of the game is to go to the better place by following the rules. And some of you are going to say, oh, but what rules? So many different moral systems. And I'm saying, well, obviously you have to follow the best moral system. And people are going to say, the best moral system is my parents' moral system, my people's moral system. But actually, that's not true. So I think a good way of thinking this through is to imagine ourselves as orphans with a country to run, and we want to run it well. So if you think in these terms, then the best religion is easily arrived at. Here comes Khalid again. I don't know how it will work this time. So I think a lot of our happiness is made up of feelings of certainty. We are certain we are right, we are certain we are good, we are certain that all will end well for us, and our sacrifices will be worthwhile, will be worthwhile, good will be rewarded and evil punished. And this is what God promises.
Oh.
Hello?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Oh, good.
You're the best, Claire. I'm so sorry. This is so crap. But anyway, Karen, you talk, carry on.
Because you keep popping out, I get a chance to talk a bit more, and I'm making the most of it.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
So I'm actually addressing Bubblegum's question. What are the rules for? What are the words for? What is the world for? Rules for thee, not for me. I think he's complaining about bad government, the ruling class, our corrupt and incompetent ruling classes who have rules who don't follow the rules but expect us to follow them. And so what we want is better government, and we can only have better government if our laws are based on the best moral system there is. And I'm saying, it should be obvious, even if you don't believe in God, which one is the best one, even though you hate it. The thing is, it doesn't have to, it can work even if you hate it. That is also one of my points.
That's interesting. Or why don't we just go back historically a little bit, and you have lots of good governments in the past. I'm not sure if they're all like necessarily Muslim governments, but there are lots of fantastic governments, fantastic things that happened in the past. Search, Andalusia, and a lot of the Muslim governments, which are in the so-called dark ages of, according to European history, but the golden ages of Islam. And there are probably other amazing governments. So we shouldn't kind of have this, I don't know, bubblegum gun. Are you white or something? There seems to be a white problem. Like everybody just gives up. It's too terrible. It's not fair. Let's just give up. It's not for me. Like, cool. Just get a better government. So Okay, here's my tip for better government. Better government is bad government, let's say, is a disease which is a reflection of a sickness in society. Would you agree? Because I would say there's a hadith or saying of Prophet Muhammad says that, what was it saying? That your leaders come from among you, something along the lines of basically
People
your
deserve
leaders
the
are a
government
reflection
they
of
get.
you. Yeah,
People deserve
because
the
they're
government they get.
a tiny bit of introspection would tell you that, look, you've got this thing called democracy, and somehow you keep voting these crappy people in. What the heck's going on?
They just have to admit that democracy is dementia. They won't admit they're wrong. I mean, that's their problem, really.
Yeah, there is a
because the whole
dementia
point
in
of
it because
Christianity is believing in
yeah.
lies and nonsense and never admitting it and hoping nobody
I mean,
notices.
I agree there's dementia in democracy because necessarily what is democracy? It's asking everybody, including all the idiots, to vote for, who's going to lead us. Like, who thought that was a good idea? We just assumed that was a good idea for some reason. The original idea of democracy in Greece was only the smart people, very select few were allowed to, choose governments. It kind of makes sense. Like, you wouldn't run a company like Amazon that would
Not
go, you know
women.
what, I'm just going to get everybody in the street, all our customers even, to decide who leads. No, they're not smart enough, So yeah, I
Yes,
agree.
I mean, people have said that the female vote has really, is really the problem, and in the
It's
queue,
true. It's
there was.
true.
Well,
Yeah, go on.
I think so. I mean, there's somebody called Tarnished, and if you bear with me a minute, I'm going to read all the things he said, which are kind of half true, and so he's basically saying, all the bad things. It's like women don't mind; they don't care. As long as they get their way, they don't care.
Who don't
So
care? Women don't care.
yeah,
Yeah.
they want us to eat bugs. They want us to. Hold on, he gave us a whole list, and
Sure, while you're getting your list, I'll quickly explain why women shouldn't vote. And there's not just me. There's famous lady called Pearly whatever things. She's also saying
yes,
this. Okay.
Pearly
And
things.
it's not being sexist in a negative way. I say sexism is just specialization, like treat people differently according to their needs and their abilities, right? It's just that women are not, they're very good at the details and the heart of family, and men are really crap at it. Like, men need women for that kind of stuff, right? Emotional stuff. There's no point being all logical and whatever if you don't have the emotional stuff. So everybody's got their place, right? But women generally don't care about the big picture. They don't like politics and whatever. Especially as soon as you have children, you become hyper specialized. You have you gain baby brain. Your brain literally restructures so you can handle the little baby, which is absolutely nuts, and you can't negotiate with it, which is why you have to be illogical and emotional as well. You know what I mean? So that's just how we're structured, good at different things. And people in society always knew that. It's just in our modern age, we decided men are the same as women, which is ridiculous. You just look at your eyes, completely different, act completely different, behave different, talk different, whatever. And I like that we're different. Anyway, so that's a bit of logic there.
Well, the thing is, they can't be. Many of them can't be reasoned with. I mean, actually, many men can't be reasoned with. But I want to say that Tarnish has quite extreme views. But I mean, some of it, makes sense. I think he's Indian or something, and he was proposing the reintroduction of sati, which is the Hindu practice of widow burning. I think
Okay,
the
can we
Hindus
get
are
past
the
that
worst.
one?
Well, yes. I mean, this is the reality. I mean, the whole idea that it actually even goes back to the Christian idea that women are just taken from Adam's rib.
Yeah, but has he got any good ideas besides burning women?
Well, he is basically saying that women want all these things that are clearly bad for society, and but the point is that women will go with the mainstream, whatever it is. If it's good, they'll go with it. If it's evil, they'll also go with it. Because they're not going to argue about it, most of them. They're just going to say, well, this is, what you expect. You can't expect. So we'll just have to keep voting for who we think is going to be the winner. Or we think we've wasted our time. We'll just support the winner, whoever he is, however he wins. We will support him. And unfortunately, men think like that too. Because they
there
have
are
no
different
religion,
levels of
because they
men,
have
isn't
no
there?
religion, they won't even defend. Well, they can't defend principles they don't have. Western men have no principles because they have no religion,
Yes. Yes. Having principles
and
gives
their
you a
women
lot of
despise them.
clarity. Yeah, people think you don't need principles and do whatever works for you, which is a common phrase in the West. If that worked, do whatever works for you, then things would be better in the West, and we wouldn't be facing population implosion and everything crumbling down or whatever. So we do need something smarter than whatever works, because whatever works is just what you feel like today, which is people don't realize that's how stupid that is. So principles make things clear, and once you have principles, then you can actually think, oh, that person has principles according to the clearly
And I
defined
can
things, and
trust
maybe we should
him.
vote for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what
And
are principles? The ideas that work over time, not just your feelings at the moment.
marriage. Because,
Yeah.
if you want to
So yeah.
remain in existence, you need to, produce the next generation who must not be degenerate, who must not be mentally ill, who must not be criminal, and, not good employees.
Yeah.
And
So
really,
go on.
they won't admit their mistakes. All this stuff from, Stephen yesterday, Muhammad is a pedo. We don't need to be told by these Muslims not to rape women. It's that sort of thing. And the thing is,
Yeah.
he's just pandering to his Islamophobic audience who want to hear this. I guess, he needs to put up a show of resistance. And then, this ridiculous idea that all these white men will become brown the moment they adopt Islam. So
These
magically
are
they'll all
just
become
so
brown.
funny. I don't know what you're saying now. White men turning brown. Okay. Maybe their children will be, because the only people who are worth marrying will be the brown women, I suppose. They'll merge into beige.
But the thing
Okay.
is, it doesn't
So
even
yeah,
matter. It's a survival
yeah.
of your nation. You don't want it to be some, depopulated, crime-ridden, hellhole. And maybe, whoever takes over, well, at least there'll be somebody wanting to take over who will run it, who will still be running it, and not degenerates who are saying, we'd rather be dead. And
Sure.
anyway, we don't want to marry women, even if one could be found. Which is kind of
Sure.
what they're saying.
So to kind of home what you're saying and into this main title, what do we need to be happy? What is the nature of reality? You're saying I've got a few things, but they're definitely not what's the word? All encompassing is a better word for that. But anyway, you're saying you need sort of direction, you need principles, you need clarity, you need decent government, you need a great environment, and then you'll be happy. And I agree with that. I think they're really important, essential things. I think the heart of what you're saying is you need clear guidance. Would you say that? Clear guidance that works, not stupid YouTuber somewhere just telling you fancy stuff, but stuff that works over the millennia, like Islam. Would you say
Well,
that?
we
Is
need
that
to
like that's
know.
essential?
Well, we need stable laws that don't change, as often as these
Yes.
politicians change their underwear, because then we can't decide to do anything, because it'll change again. It's like, oh, let's have another reset. Oh, and another one tomorrow, and the one next week,
Yeah.
and the month after
And of
that.
course,
So nobody,
what you're saying
yeah,
is you need clear principles. Principles are things that don't change every 5 seconds. Otherwise, they're not principles. That's what you're saying, isn't it? And where do
yeah.
principles come from that actually work? The God-given ones, the creator of nature and all that kind of stuff, which some sort of stable. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yep, stuff that works,
I
and
mean,
only God's
because,
laws that work. Yeah, go on.
courtship is long-term enterprise. Marriage is a long-term enterprise. Parenting is a long-term enterprise, and these are, these are abstract nouns. They're not interested. They want, football. They want porn. They want, immediate gratification. Who wants to bring
Yeah.
up children and pay for them?
Yeah.
Somebody else can do it, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I
how
like
they
that you
think.
brought up football. Yeah. It's kind of this like kicking a ball or a balloon around from one side to the other, and that's the meaning of your life. That's a sign of, yeah. It's kind of like another version of
They want
the
to be
Roman
footballers.
Colosseums. Do you know what I mean? You just entertain the masses to keep them distracted. That's what's happening. Would you agree? Distracted from the
Oh,
misery of
absolutely. I mean,
yeah,
Netflix and,
their lives.
binge watching, so they don't have time to think.
Cool.
So
So
they
now
don't
I'm
have the time
gonna,
to think.
yeah, I agree. I appreciate all the really good stuff you're saying. So I like homing into the thing that people really need. Like I don't want to just belittle people and tell them how stupid they are, or whatever, right? I want to just tell them solutions. I really want to help them. And here it is. The Quran says, what is the one thing we need to be happy? If you know that one thing, and I said it right in the beginning anyway, but I'll say it again, but with a verse of the Holy Quran, says, the Quran says, most definitely it is the remembrance of God that hearts can find comfort. If we had peace in our lives, we wouldn't be so distracted, and we'd actually move in a positive direction. And there's a lot of things that tell you in psychology that it is God that we yearn for. One thing is that you'll find Muslims are more at peace than or non-religious people. So a very quick thing you can, even if I'm not sure if there's many statistics that make that 100% clear, but I think there are statistics that say that if you're an atheist, you're far more likely to be suicidal. There is a great video that I keep talking about by an atheist professor psychologist. If you search Big Think, is religion evolutionary something kind of advantage, right? And he says that it's very clear believing in God is very good for your psychology. There's something very powerful about the psychology of believing God. That's one thing. Then I already talked about this idea of being in nature. What is that magnificent peaceful effect of nature? If nature is just a bunch of leaves, there's something hidden behind the leaves. And the Quran talks about the universe being like a glass palace under which there's a rushing powerful force, which is God. So you see the leaf, but really behind the leaf is the beauty of God. It's a sign of God. I mean, does any of what I'm saying make sense? Like this idea of, that there are signs in the world that keep telling you that God is the thing that we're searching for that gives you peace. Does that make any sense? The thing I said about nature, for
Yes,
example.
because I mean, the whole basis of cognitive behavioral therapy, which you may have heard of, excuse me.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
It is that we act on our beliefs. So if we believe that good will be rewarded and evil punished, we'll more easily do the right thing. But if we don't believe in
Yes.
that, we're not going to do anything except satisfy our, immediate needs and wants of food, of shelter, of sex, maybe
Yeah.
feeling better by crushing someone weaker than us. This is the kind of society we now have. Because we think in
Yes.
the short
We've
term,
run out
we
of things
can't
to do,
think.
so we crush other people. Yeah. Go
Yeah, I mean that's how battery hens behave. They're locked,
on.
they're cooped up with each other, and they peck at each other for entertainment. It's like, well, I can peck you, I can hurt you. That means I'm better than you.
Right. Yeah. Yes, that's true. Okay. And then the simple test of this idea that you can find peace with God is just like if you're feeling stressed, if you can focus on God entirely, And so you have to have a decent idea of what God is. If you think God is a cat or a donkey, it's probably not going to help you, right? People have all sorts of ideas about who God is. But if you think of God in the most reasonable way, which is the all-powerful, he created all this stuff, but he must be pretty powerful, yeah? And all kind and all this kind of stuff, wants good for you, wants you to progress. Like, why would you say God wants you to progress? There's a thing called dopamine. And the biggest dopamine hits you can get is actually to progress in your life. Okay. So yeah, happiness, or what you call it, self-help gurus talk about this, like progression is happiness. So and not just progress randomly, but progress to a higher ideal. And you might say, what's that got to do with God? Because in Islam, your whole journey in life, the reason for doing good things is not arbitrary, is because you're becoming God-like. You're becoming at one with God. You just saying God exists doesn't really matter. Does it make any sense? So like your whole, everything about psychology, like Viktor Frankl's have meaning in your life, do something more meaningful, which means doing something good. That's how the way he defines it. There's a dopamine system that tells you to do good things and become a better person. All these things are doing exactly what all religions say is to become at one with God. Are there any other meaning of accepting or knowing God is meaningless? It's like, okay, yeah, I accept God exists. That doesn't mean anything. Being at one with God, changing yourself to be at one with God, that means something, I think. What do you think, Claire?
Well, people just want to feel safe and good, as little children do. And I think the idea that, well, I mean, when you were talking, a verse in the book of Matthew came to me, and it goes, ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be opened to you. What does this mean? I mean, we've heard the expression, all you have to do is ask. That's all you had to do, but you couldn't even do that. Because what, it didn't occur to you?
Islam has a
You were
similar
too
teaching,
proud.
which is, yeah, if you take one step towards God, God will take 10 steps towards you. If you walk towards God, God will run towards you. So basically, just like God, make an effort is what is God. That's what God is saying, and you'll see the results, and you'll find the peace, and so these are all testable ideas. I'm just giving it to you. So to kind of summarize, there's one thing you need, which is God. And you can test it in all sorts of ways. If you're stressed, think about God, just contemplate God, and you'll suddenly start feeling a lot more peace. Okay. And you will see, like, people look in Palestine, right? For example, all their kids are dying. Everybody's just dying, and they have more peace than most Westerners have. If you see their videos, have you seen the videos? They're still smiling. It's like, yeah, we're all right. It's all right. I mean, they're not saying they're all right, but they're smiling a lot more than you see white people do in England. You know what I mean? And they're all dying. I'm not saying it's good. Do you get what I'm saying? There's a lot of evidence that you can have a lot more peace when you have this idea of God's with you kind of thing. So there's so much evidence out there. Just look at all the religious people, way more better mental health, and so much other evidence to say that. Yeah. So in short, it's not just acknowledging God, although that's the first step, but trying to be at one with God. And being at one with God is the thing that will give you peace. And to be at one with God is not just some random thing, but it's an understood thing. Have you ever watched Star Wars? Is being at one with the Force? What does that mean?
Sorry, what about
It kind
Star
of
Wars?
means. So in Star Wars, which is actually loosely based on Islam, actually, in Prophet Muhammad's story, people know about it. It's the main characters are called the Jedi, and they're always trying to be at one with the Force, and they seem to be the happiest people, right? And
right.
Can you imagine how you would, if you call God the Force? Because I feel like I'm just talking a lot and not everybody understands what I'm saying by the idea of being at one with God. What would you understand by the idea of being at one with God, or like Star Wars would say, being at one with a Force? What would your understanding be? How would
Supported
you do
by
that?
a force, supported by an undefeatable force.
But how do you do that? What activity do you have to do as an individual to achieve that? Would you say?
Obey his laws.
Yes.
That's what it
Cool.
is.
And submit your will. Would you say that?
Yeah, but by obeying, you are submitting your will.
Cool. Yes,
By
it is
doing
true.
what we're supposed
So,
to do according to God.
so the takeaway I want for people is that you submit your will, try to listen to God more. You'll suddenly find you have so much peace. Just test it. There's so much evidence to say that's what all the psychologists, Viktor Frankl, and all these other people have been talking about for a very long time. Listen to your conscience, they say, and stuff like that, and you'll find peace. Don't madly, like a crazy addict, chase everything else. Don't actively hide from the light of God. The light of God just means, we understand what the light of God means, is the guidance, the direction, the beauty of God, all these things that don't fight it. And the reason why we fight it is because we want to, our ego is trying to tell us to make ourselves God, which is ridiculous, but we do it anyway. But I do it as well, by the way. I do it. We all do it. We all do it. You've all got egos. Just try to do less of it and you'll find your happiest. What do you think, Claire, about that? Do you think that'll work?
What was this about
peace?
ego and sorry, I didn't quite
Okay,
get what you were saying.
so I was saying is that we all have egos which make us do stupid things, and the most stupid thing, essentially what we're trying to do, is make ourselves God. We want to be adored like God. We want 1 million views. We want to be more important than everybody else, but that doesn't make you happy. We have to come to the reality that there is a God, and we should submit to that God rather than submit to our ego, and then we'll be happy. I suppose that's
because
what I'm saying.
the problem of idolatry is that you end up worshipping something that is even less powerful than you are. Because you know how the Quran frames idolatry is, not in a stern way like, oh, you're going to end up in hell, you're going to be executed, but why are you wasting your time worshipping idols that can neither harm nor help you? You're wasting your time, and it's stupid. Why do you keep doing it?
Yeah, so true, so beautifully
so you
put.
can say that atheists worship their own opinions. And even though they know they're wrong, they're saying, we don't care, we'd rather die than admit that we're wrong.
So beautiful.
And
I
we
love it
won't
when
change
people quote the
course.
Quran. So true. Yeah. And we're so weak and fragile. And then when we make ourselves God, and we know, and then to maintain that pretense that we're really important and so powerful and we're, we can't be wrong, that's you're bound to be stressed constantly maintaining that pretense, isn't it? That's what people do in the West.
Neurosis is a cause of cognitive dissonance, isn't it? You're trying to make people believe, and you can't keep it up, and that's why people get depressed and suicidal.
Yeah,
Because
I mean, just to
they
be
can't
clear,
maintain it.
when I make these videos, I know I'm an idiot. I've no problem saying that. All I'm trying to do is trying to tell people, try to be less idiot than we currently are. You'd be a lot happier. Like there's these Muslims. I think most of them are really dumb. They're really uneducated. Yet they're having all their kids and they're having a lot more peace. Just aim for that at least. Be a little bit less stupid. Follow what slightly makes sense. Believe in God and all that kind of stuff. People will do so much better. Anyway, thank you very much,
Yes,
Claire.
the expression
Appreciate it.
too clever by half. What do you think it means, Khalid?
Oh, yes. You showed me, I don't know what it means, but I don't exactly know what it means, but you remind me of was it Idiocracy or something, where all the clever people stop having children because they're overthinking about it.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe that's what it means.
And they always
I don't
have these sort of excuses for not doing what they're supposed to be doing,
Yeah. Thanks, Claire. Really appreciate it. Thank you for filling in the gaps when I was leaving in and out of the show a million times. It's amazing that my rubbish Wi-Fi, my hotspot managed to keep things going better than my normal internet.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, and I think we got quite a reaction from the chat.
Yeah, we did.
You may not have been reading. No, I don't know.
I do. A lot of it, some of it's just insulting, but some good things there as well. Yeah, I was reading it. Cool. I like
Okay,
losing
so,
yourself
yeah.
in mind, spirit, and free will. That sounds good. Thanks, Bubblegum. All right. Catch you later. Thanks, Claire. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.